Hi everyone, my name is Cyril Joachim. For short, I'm known as CJ. I'm currently 21, doing my second year in law at Brickfields Asia College. I'm under the Tunku Abdul Rahman Scholarship, so which is BTAR, Beasiswa Tunku Abdul Rahman, which is given by YTAR, Yayasan Tunku Abdul Rahman. So since the outfit of choice was like pretty casual today, I thought of wearing the jacket they provided us. So this is
Wow,
obviously one of the benefits
cute.
we get through by being a scholar with them.
Fine.
Um, so for myself, I only applied after my first year. Um,
I see.
I I finished school. I went to A levels. A levels is not. I think there are scholarship providers for A levels, but it's very limited.
Mm,
It's very small. And coming to my first year, I wasn't very confident getting a scholarship, so
mhm.
I only applied after my first year. And yeah, that's my biggest regret. I should have applied from my first year onwards. But well, I applied my second year onwards. I hope the viewers here like don't get afraid of like the number of essays you have to write. So technically, you would have to write 4 essays.
Mhm.
Um, really short ones. You know, like your ulasan, like in 500 words. How would you do this and that? Because I
Mhm.
mean, like too long, then people just don't want to read it either.
Mhm.
So 4 essays. In my year, I'm not too sure if the questions differ, but so far, last I checked with the admin, I think it's pretty much the same.
Mhm.
The 4 essays usually cover things like if I were to give you like maybe this amount of money, how would you help your community using this money?
Mhm.
So you will have to tell them the project idea, how will you execute the project. So I guess what I did different is I try to really mechanize every step to show them the allocation of funding.
Mhm.
So that's the first question. The second question will cover who you are as a person. So maybe what was your biggest struggle in life and how you overcame that struggle. And these struggles don't really necessarily have to be things like, oh, I failed my midterms in for SPM and then I suddenly got straight A's.
Mhm.
I it's usually the kind of answers most applicants will give. But I think what they really want in this scholarship is how you're uniquely different and how your struggles could be possibly be unique.
Mhm.
So maybe even things like life struggles. I think some people may have had a time in their life where they lost a certain loved one, and
Mhm.
this was a really big struggle in their life for XYZ reasons. So how you overcame the struggle, and it's completely fine if you never really overcame it, or if you're on the like you're in the process of overcoming it, is something that's pretty okay.
Mhm.
The third thing then is I think so this scholarship is based on the key values of Tunku Abdul Rahman. So I do know our late Prime Minister has like an infinite amount of great values to follow. But
Mhm.
based on the scholarship, there are four big values, which is so there are four key principles here. First is honor, second is leadership, third is unity, and fourth is compassion. So you don't need to write an entire paragraph for like each certain value.
Mhm.
Rather, they will ask you which value do you relate to the most, and which life situation do you think you portray that value the most.
Mhm.
So honestly, even when it comes to leadership, I think also a common mistake by I guess like it's not a mistake. I think what most applicants would do for most scholarships is to say like, oh, I was the president of this club and I managed to do this in that club.
Mhm.
But the beauty of YTAR is that it is more than just your positions in school or your positions in university for that matter. Maybe you just being the eldest child and helping your parents to like to like maybe feed your siblings or to just take care of your siblings is already a role of leadership in itself. In terms of unity, compassion, it really is a very broad metric. But the beauty of YTAR is it's very much holistic judging. So
Mhm.
the four essays will be judged holistically as
Mhm.
to who you are as an individual to see if you fit through. So after the entire submission process, I think you're given a good amount of like 2 months to submit these essays. I can't really remember the fourth essay. If I'm not wrong, I think the fourth essay is about um what you have done for the community so far, like what projects you already have done. I'm not too sure. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty confident that the previous three, because I had the hardest time answering those trees and trying to figure out what am I gonna say. Yeah. So after the essay process, you have an interview. The interview is going to be like 1 hour long.
Mhm.
Uh, the best part about the interview is super chill.
Mhm.
So 1 hour, you might think like, oh, it's really draggy, and you might have a really boring conversation with the interviewer. But it's very different with Vita. They really want to know who you are as a person. The admin who interview are super, super chill, very friendly people. And they're very nice, they're very caring. The idea about YTAR generally is it gives out a whole positive vibe, so you'll be very comfortable with sharing your thoughts. It's very much a safe space for any individual, regardless of your race, gender, religion, political beliefs. Yeah. So after that interview process, you are only gonna get the interview process if you get through the essay submission, because the scope goes smaller and smaller through these processes. And the final stage is a final a final interview where they would tell you if you are accepted or rejected, yeah, and all those things. So 3 stages: essay, the first interview, and the confirmation interview. Right. So I would say the scholarship is one of a kind because yes, number one, the tuition fees is fully covered. So I think it's important to note that YTAR does provide tuition fees for both public and private sectors. But the term that you need to fulfill is that your entire degree must be based in Malaysia. So, for example, although I am doing a UK degree with Brickfields Asia College, this degree is the University of London, where you would do your degree 3+0, 3 years in Malaysia directly. If I was doing my UKT, which is the training program, then the scholarship would not provide me for it because I'm going overseas. So in benefit, tuition fees is number one. Number two, they also provide us a monthly allowance. I'm not too sure how much I can disclaim, but I think it's sufficient enough to live a good life in the months. Third, they also give us things like for example, this laptop I'm using over the recording, it was also funded by them. They give us a minimum budget of how much they would pay for our devices. And then for every semester, they will also give us books and stationery allowances. However, I don't really know how to utilize this because the course I take don't really have semesters. It's just 9 months of studying and then this one exam.
I see.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so that's how University of London works. But for my friends who do, who are part of public universities, then yes, every semester you're given a book and stationery allowance. And I think um, there's a very unique allowance I want to specify regarding YTAR, which is the development and growth funding, which there is like a certain amount of money provided for every scholar to use per year. So, for example, every scholar is for my contract with YTAR, it's a 2 year program because in my second year and I finished my degree by my third year. So in 2 years, every year within these 2 years, this entire, we call it the tabung, would reload and have like this same amount of money. So it's a really big amount of money. I think it's around like up to 5,000 ringgit, where we are allowed to use it for things like if I wanted to go for like tuition maybe, and I couldn't pay for it, I could apply under this. But it's not just limited to tuitions. It also goes to an extent where if you would want to go for tournaments, they are also willing to fund you for all these tournaments. So for example, I think if I would, because I also debate, and these days debate tournaments are really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So you can use the YTAR fund for it. But more than just that, I think there's a very unique thing about this in which where this fund can also be used in all aspects, even for things like therapy. So if you're going through a really bad phase with mental health, you can use the money from these funds to also pay for those areas. Aside from that special fund, which is a development fund, you also have like I can't really remember the name. I'm really sorry. But there's another part of the funding which is just for how you present yourself. So things like maybe buying clothes for university, like formal outfits is also provided. So yeah, these are like a few part of the things that YTAR covers, which but the growth and development fund specifically is something that is, I would say, exclusively different simply because this fund is catered towards how you want to be a leader and the hurdles you go through. So this fund helps you go through those things. Right. So for YTAR, there is actually a standard. I think if I'm not wrong, it's around 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. But here's the beauty of YTAR. Assuming you don't achieve this metric, then they will also give you things like a notification letter to say like, oh look, somewhat of a warning, but very light warning to say, look, you didn't reach this target. But it isn't very punitive as how other scholarships are, where they'll say like, oh, you need to like pass the next test, otherwise you revoke it. I think the way in which YTAR puts the messages up there is to say, okay, since this is your result now, it's pretty bad. I think we have to come to a consensus on that area. But the question then is, what do you want to do to improve your result?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you look back at your fund, your development fund, and you tell them like, okay, maybe tuition helps. If not tuition, even the YTA staff are happy enough to help you to set a proper pathway. Because I think most students right now, it's easier to like, I mean, it's pretty common for us to fail or like not get through our exams, you know. But we also, I think the biggest struggle is to ask yourself, how do we improve after that predicament? And I think YTA does that perfectly in a sense. I mean, not 100% perfect, but carries out the job really beautifully into just helping students set a proper pathway as to how you want to establish and accomplish these things. So in terms of education metric, not really. There is one set so that we at least maintain the quality of our scholars. But even if you don't, then it's still pretty forgivable. In terms of your co-curriculum activities and all, not really much of an issue, because even within YTA, we're already carrying out like extracurricular work through our camp. So not really much of a metric, but of course, yeah, what is really important is that I think as most scholarships go, don't ruin the scholarship image, ensure that you remain professional in all work conducts. And again, all these things are also taught to us during the camp. So you're not expected to know all those things. Upon being accepted in, you are given camps about leadership, how you present yourself, ambassadorship, which is why the first thing came to my mind when you asked me for this interview was like, yes, I definitely have to wear this jacket and promote YTA.
So
Thank you so much for giving me this platform.
They sponsor the hoodie also?
Yeah, so we got a hoodie, we got a bottle, we got a pin for formal events.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, and a YTA t-shirt too.
Okay.
This hoodie is super comfortable. Like I kid you not. I have hoodies from H&M and like Uniqlo. But like I think specifically as one of the YTA staff informed us, they said they specifically focused on comfort. And this hoodie is like incredibly comfortable. Like the moment I went into this hoodie, I was like, God, where did you get this from? You know? So yeah, look, if not for the scholarship money, you would want this scholarship for the hoodie. Yes. I would say it's incredibly competitive. If I'm not wrong, in my cohort, in my batch, I think 30 of us were selected out of 3,000 candidates.
Oh wow, I see.
So yeah, the scope is we were really shocked, to be honest, because we were like, okay, like maybe like another 200 it just apply, you know. And the biggest question then is just not the number of skill, but we were also quite confused as to the quality of people. Because like going to YTAR, I think like applicants would really question like, what do I need to portray? Certain scholarships tell you like your exam results and your academic values. That means to say maybe you have scored 9 A's for exams, and maybe you have done like I think A star for A levels and stuff. Whereas some other scholarships would prioritize your curriculum kind of activities, like maybe you're a debater, you're an athlete, and all those things. But with YTAR, these are not two things that they really look at. It's really just based on who you are as a person, and how you fit into the values of what Tunku Abdul Rahman has said, and into the cohort with those given values. Of course, there are certain metrics of requirements which I'll go into later, but generally it's very competitive because this is a scholarship that is inclusive for every single person out there, regardless Malaysian or even non-Malaysians. As long you're based in Malaysia, you can try for the scholarship and you should try for the scholarship. Yeah. So firstly, I think usually YTA would prioritize people of the B40 community, but it's not really just B40, because the reason why it's directed or like targeted more into B40 is simply because I think it's quite obvious they're the ones who struggle the most and oftentimes really come out on top due to the things that the life struggles they go through and just how they come out of it. But secondly, I think the unique difference about YTA is also the age limit. There is no age limit. So we have scholars that are aged from like 20 up to even 29 to 30 who's doing like their degree. Because I think it's the idea where not everyone is privileged enough to have done the scholarship after high school or after their college lives. Again, like I think like you mentioned earlier, actually, things like maybe financial reasons or just not having the best awareness as to why you need to do a degree, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or sometimes even just time, right? I think it's a very unfair assumption. I think a lot of adults place on the youth to say like, oh, you're the most available person out there at 20 to 23, which is usually very untrue. We have different things going on in life. So yeah, it's pretty acceptable even regardless of age. But I think one really beautiful thing I saw like recently from a camp. So we have a 2-year camp
Mm-hmm.
upon getting accepted to YTAR. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have a bond because the only bond you have is to say, you need to give back to the community.
Okay.
That is also very flexible. You can do things on a like wow, I don't know how to say it. So, like for example, for myself, it was an inside joke going in the camp where I didn't have a bond because I'm already helping the community. So, what I do for a living is I educate underprivileged students as to how to debate and how to vocalize your rights.
Mm-hmm.
So I make debating a lot more accessible to areas which is very far fetched into believing that people can be debaters.
Mm-hmm.
So even on that scale, or just having a one-time workshop, you're already helping the community. But here's a second part I want to talk about, which is the 2-year camp.
Mm-hmm.
The 2-year leadership camp, even if you're a scholar that has a contract for 3 to 4 years for your degree, you are required to just go for the 2 years camp. The funding will still continue even after the 2 years. But in in that 2 years camp, you have like 5 lecture conferences. I think my cohort in particular was very blessed and privileged that we could have it physically.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I think we had a gathering in AC by the Marriott Hotel in Kuala Lumpur,
Mm-hmm.
where like, all 30 of us had to come for it. And yeah, so the 2-year camp sometimes it's physically, sometimes it's virtual. I think our upcoming camp is going to be online. And you will be given things like permission letters to also get out of university during that time. But in that process of the camp, so after your first year of the camp, going to your second year, every scholar is expected to like carry out a community project, and this is part of the criterion that you have as a scholar. This community project is also varies on the scale of which you have some individuals who do like workshops in a two like over a weekend workshop. Some individuals went to an extent that they started building schools for orang asli children.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really like a big range of differences in a project, right? But as long as this is something where you are able to benefit the community and society ahead of you in the way in which you can, uh, you fulfill that requirement. And in terms of funding and all, you can use that development, like the earlier development funding I spoke about initially. If you don't want to use that, the YTA staff will also help you apply for like fundings or partnerships with other companies in order for you to carry out a project. So this project is really important, and I think applicants should be aware of this commitment that you give during your university years. So my father was a law graduate, but was never a lawyer because he had a lot of financial difficulties back then.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up in the banking line, not doing his CLP or like getting through the bar. But that wasn't my biggest inspiration. It was when I think I had an uncle who was in a hit and run accident, and
Mm-hmm.
because I come from mainland Penang, it was pretty hard to get any access to law,
Mm-hmm.
to like any form of justice because it was either too expensive or, I guess, because the way in which the accident happened, a lot of lawyers don't want to take up the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really inspired as to how do you get some form of justice. So I started reading up my dad's books since I was young, and I was pretty privileged for this opportunity then. So that's what inspired me to take up law from the age of 10 up to now. But I'll be very honest. I think if it comes to advising the younger generation of to what you want to do, honestly, take your time. You don't really need one fixed direction. If anything, what you want is to establish yourself, your own identity, and know how you play a role in your life and also in the life of the people around you, which is the society around you. So even though I am still doing law until today, I did have things like I wanted to maybe become an educator and a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so even now as a law student, I do plan to do my bar and get through like go into the court and stuff. But sometimes I also still question if this is the best thing I want to do. I
Mm-hmm.
might go into like just teaching and opening up my own schools or anything. So I'm also still figuring it out, even though I'm doing my degree right now. And it's completely fine to consistently try figuring it out. But I guess the best thing is to like save time, know yourself, get a degree first, and in that process also further explore. So yeah, I guess know yourself first, and then you will most likely know your degree in that process. Last I checked on the metric of how difficult a degree is, law was placed number 6. How do what do I think about it? Maybe 6 is pretty high. I don't know. Maybe because I'm just too passionate about it. But here's the biggest advice. Law isn't difficult. It is pretty dry, and it's not the most like obviously it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be exciting as you think it would be. Most law students right now get our inspiration from Netflix shows like Suits,
Yeah.
or I can't remember. I don't. Yeah, like Saul Goodman. I think I can't really remember the show. But my advice is, if you really want to do law, you must put in a lot of time into it, which is very true. A lot of reading. I know a lot of like a lot of people say like, oh, sejarah is important. No, sejarah is not really important. It's just the parts of reading and memorizing sejarah which is key. But also like the way in which law exams also go on now is pretty a bit more chill into your common sense and your ability to critically think. But law is a very dry subject. If you want to do it, a lot of sacrifices as to time, commitment. I know in most public universities, especially, takes up a lot of your time. But for me, private university is pretty chill because I have 9 months of studying one exam. So it comes close to exam one, it's like really hectic, really stressful. Otherwise, it's quite chill. But like for my friends, like for example, Rashwin, another fellow scholar from UM, he has mentioned that how UM law is no joke. It's really mentally taxing, a lot of effort, a lot of stress, but more importantly, a lot of discipline in how you time manage. You know, but is it a degree worth doing? Definitely. Is it a degree that would help you impact society on a larger scale? Also, most likely, definitely. Would you understand life? I guess law also helps you understand life, your own life, the lives of other people, because if you like watching drama about how people show it, right? You can read a lot of drama, especially if you do family law and all other areas. So make sure if you want to do law, you know absolutely sure what you're getting yourself into, and you're willing to take those sacrifices, and it will be a meaningful degree. So yeah, just know it well. If you don't know, please reach out to me as well. I'd be happy to help. But yeah, know the degree, feel the love wherever you can, and then enter the law degree. No, I do it independently on my own. So I coach multiple schools and students from around, especially the northern region of Malaysia. So I'm going to put it out there, disclaimer. I coach students to not become like, I don't expect them to become the best debaters or like to represent Malaysia or like to win trophies. Rather, I prioritize things like how you're able to give speeches, build your confidence, and just achieve like smaller scale scopes which you would feel satisfied. Because the reality is, debating is a privileged sport. You do need privileges of like time, financial things also to make it very high. But I think it's not. I think that's not the big goal of debating. The big goal of debating is for you to speak eloquently, being able to have confidence, know how to conduct yourself, but also know how to absorb world news and to know how to critically think about those things, right? So like one of my proudest moments as a coach, just to show you what I look forward as a coach, is like I had a student whose mom was a single mother, from Indonesia, and she wanted to be like Said Sadiq after watching him on the news. And she couldn't speak English fully, Bahasa all the way. But I'm proud to say that after 1 year of coaching her, she was able to become a state finalist in the high school tournament.
Oh, that's amazing.
So these are the kind of things I feel there's meaning in life. I don't care about the trophies and all, but just being able to see your student speak fluent English, know how to absorb and think about world news is what I look forward to. So yeah, my prices are also like the low market prices, if that's why it's underprivileged, because I think debate classes are pretty expensive today. What I do is I price them on like, so where I come from, Pride, is where I saw a lot of my friends at that age. They will go for futsal every weekend. But beyond this futsal, I felt futsal was a pathway for them to enter things like gangsterism and etc. So instead, I place it like, yeah, okay, if you pay for futsal like 10 ringgit per week, then same price for my classes. You come in, you learn debate, and you find an alternative route for your future. So that's how it looks like. You guys would want some debate training. You will want to like learn what debating is, and this is your first time experience. But also, if you think you are unable to afford those things, feel free to contact me on my Instagram. It's literally my name, Cyril Joachim, and I think there's an underscore. I'm pretty much of a boomer when it comes to tech. I struggle with tech a lot. But surprisingly, I do my classes online every week. I do take in schools as a team, but also take in debaters independently from ages. I would prefer, I mean, I don't really have an age group because I understand different people have different like interests at different ages. But my current scope of debaters is from high school kids, from 13 up to university students. So yeah, I'm currently doing a project which is called Debaters Aiming High, as a project for entire Malaysia, where I invite or like I kind of train every, I mean not every, I would say like universities who are interested outside Klang Valley in Kuala Lumpur, who don't have privileges like coaching, funding, and all those things. I created this group where I would give them like weekly seminars or like just notes and experiences, but also a platform to debate, which I think is also very hard to get these days. A safe space for you to like voice up your thoughts, how often you can do these things. So if you're a university student and you want to debate, but you're afraid maybe like your club, you're not very comfortable with your club, or maybe you just want to try out and not take things competitively, feel free to reach out to me. If you're a high school student from 13 to 17, from anywhere, like, or like, no matter who you are and no matter where you're from, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help you learn what debating is like and to know the world outside in the eyes of a debater.